So the great thing, the awesome thing about God is that he wants to cultivate, he wants to invite us to deep friendship with him. I mean, God really, really wants to be a part of our lives. He wants to be there to guide us, to help us to know that we can turn to him. But what does a friendship of this sort with God look like? You know, this is where it is really helpful and important to see how other people do it, how other people have this deep friendship with God, and then we can imitate them. That's a good strategy. So I want to share with you the story of an acquaintance that I know. She's a very neat woman. Her name is Sister Nancy Usselman. She is a Pauline sister, and she has actually helped out here at the parish. She's done confirmation retreats. Currently, she's living in Los Angeles doing media ministry. But Sister Nancy, like I said, is just a real neat person. She has shared with me some of her story, and she's shared that she was very fortunate in St. Louis to grow up with just a deeply Catholic family who just took it very seriously. And this family together was able to cultivate and nurture their relationship with God, their friendship with God. So growing up then, she grew up there in St. Louis, herself, a brother, and two sisters, her parents, of course. And the family just got into the habit of praying every day. So they knew this. They knew God through prayer. But also, like I said, it's a deeply Catholic background. So they all went to Catholic schools, to church every Sunday, of course. But then she would go on retreats. She would go to shrines. She would visit areas with her family and all this. So as you can see, there's this really a wonderful upbringing for a good relationship with God. And she wound up then becoming a nun. Her brother wound up becoming a priest, and one of her sisters had 6 children. So as you can see, they just really received really great benefits from cultivating this deep friendship with God. But another benefit, though, of establishing a deep friendship with God is that you can turn to God in times of crisis. And this is what happened with Sister Nancy. And this happened in 2010. At that time, she was living in New York. She was working at the Pauline bookstore over there. And her brother was going to become ordained a priest in Rome for the Legionnaires of Christ. So Sister Nancy was just really busy all the time, but she made her flight plan. She knew it was a really tight window. And so she went to the airport when she needed to get to Rome. So she comes up to the counter, and it's a disaster. She finds out from the man at the counter, that all the flights to Europe have been either canceled or delayed. And she realizes she will not be there in time for the ordination for her brother. Now, one thing, if you know Sister Nancy, is she will not take no for an answer. So she's there in her habit, and she's telling the person the man at the counter, I have to get to Rome. You don't understand. That's my brother. He's being ordained. I have to get there. Do you understand? And the man is saying, yes, sister, believe me, I'm Catholic myself. I understand, but there's no way to do it. The flights simply aren't leaving. So now Sister Nancy is desperate. But like I said, she comes from a deep Catholic background, which has formed just a really deep relationship and friendship with God. So at this time then, she is able to turn to both God and her family for help. She gets on her cell phone and she calls her sister. And her sister is in Dallas. She's at the Dallas airport with her 6 little kids. And Sister Nancy is in tears practically. And she's telling her sister, I won't be able to get to Rome in time. I need your help. Please, I need your help. I need you to pray for me. So at that point, and you can see how Catholic this family is, at this point, her sister there in the middle of the airport in Dallas, she looks at her 6 kids and says, everyone get on your knees. We're going to pray for your sister, that she get a flight to Rome. So all the 6 kids get on their knees, their mother too, and they're praying, please, please have Aunt Nancy go to Rome. Please, please. You can imagine the voice of these little kids. It truly is like Psalm 8, when God says, out of the mouths of babes and sucklings, God has ordained strength. So they're there just praying and praying, and they're praying for a long time, right in the middle of the airport for many minutes. How can God not hear these prayers? Meanwhile, back in New York, the man at the counter is doing his stuff with the computer, and suddenly he says, oh, I have found something. So he's able to cobble together like 2 or 3 flights that will eventually get her to Rome. And that's what happens. Thanks be to God, she is able to get to Rome. She's able to see her brother ordained, and she's able to be with the rest of her family to do this. Now, I realize that if a secular person were to hear this story, no doubt they would say, well, the prayers didn't matter because the person at the counter would have found the flights, the connecting flights anyway. But the thing is, us as Catholic Christians, we know better. We know the power of prayer, and we also know the cause and effect of prayer. No, the reason that Sister Nancy, under those very stressful conditions, was able to get to Rome was because of the deep relationship and friendship that her and her family had built with God. So they were able to turn to God in that moment of crisis in prayer, and that was the reason they were able to do it. The readings today are just really fantastic. They're very beautiful because what God is doing is He is inviting all of us to this beautiful friendship with Him, to this beautiful heavenly banquet where we can join Him with this incredible meal. He's just simply reaching out to us, and He's inviting all of us. But the key, though, is this, that when God invites us to the heavenly banquet, to this meal, we have to make a commitment to that friendship. That is the key, because you may have noticed that's what Sister Nancy and her family did. They made that commitment to God to really be in friendship with Him, to pray to Him, to be with Him, and to just really trust in Him. So that is the key right there. When God invites us to this friendship, we have to make that commitment. But now, Jesus, in the final part of this parable, though, does this very interesting thing. If you've noticed, He throws in a very disturbing element there, because at the end of the parable, the king comes in. Now, the king symbolizes God the Father. The king comes in, and he says, my friend, why are you here without a wedding garment? Now, the wedding garment is a symbol for making a commitment to God. It's a symbol for that life of grace, prayer, and friendship. So this guy, this person who comes in here has been invited, and he's chosen to be there, but he has chosen not to make that commitment to God, so he doesn't have that wedding garment. So according to the parable, then, God has no choice but to tie him up and throw him outside. Now, this sounds very harsh, but you have to realize that this man has made the decision not to make the commitment to God. However, as harsh as this is, though, there is a very profound element of hope at the end of this parable, and it comes from one word. And the word is this. The word is friend. Because when the king comes in and he sees the man there, he says, my friend, how can you be here without a wedding garment? And that's key right there. God calls this person my friend. And yes, he does throw him outside, and because he didn't have the wedding garment, but he still calls him my friend. He still cares about him. And so the implication is that this person outside now will still have the choice to be able to say yes to God's invitation, and he will have the option, the choice in the future then to wear that wedding garment and make that commitment to God, to really make that commitment to a deep friendship with God. Sister Nancy and her family are just simply great role models for us of people who have established this deep relationship with God. And the reason they've been able to do that is because of their deep commitment to God. So that's what the readings say to all of us today, that God is inviting us to a deep friendship with him, and we have to make that commitment to say yes to him. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit.